Hi everyone, it's Alyssa and this is Always Cinema Chic, the place that encourages you to go out, get dressed up, and watch a movie. So I just saw Murder on the Orient Express and it stars a plethora of people. So just to name a few, there is Kenneth Branagh, Michelle Pfeiffer, there's Daisy Ridley, Judi Dench, Derek Jacobi, and Johnny Depp, and it's also directed by Kenneth Branagh. And I can say that I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. So I don't read reviews before I go into a movie, but I did go on to Rotten Tomatoes and the composite score was a 65 before I went in. I checked it today and now it's a 58. And this is one of those times where I can say I really think the critics are wrong, because I had a lot of fun with this movie and it felt like a throwback to classics that were from the 40s or the 50s. It's like a whodunit detective film, and if you don't know what the story is, which I actually didn't, I'm not a huge reader of detective fiction and I don't really watch a ton of those older films that are like these whodunit kind of films, and I've never even seen the TV show with David Suchet. So I really, I think in a way I used to poo-poo these kinds of movies, but this was actually a lot of fun. And if anything, I'm now much more inclined to go back and watch the TV show just to see all of these Agatha Christie stories, because I guess I really do like it. So Kenneth Branagh plays Detective Poirot, who is an introverted perfectionist, and he has the ability to perceive when even the slightest detail is off balance, which makes him the perfect detective, but also a person with OCD. So it's 1934 and he's just solved a crime and is heading back home on the Orient Express. All he wants to do is read A Tale of Two Cities when one of the passengers comes up to him and asks if he will protect him on the train because he feels like his life is in danger. So he offers Poirot a substantial sum of money, and Poirot basically says, "No, I don't like your face, and I also need a break from being a detective." So of course that individual dies during the course of the night, and what's more is that there is a small avalanche that has stopped the train dead in its tracks, and they're basically waiting to get back on the rails. So what we have is a train with 13 possible suspects and one incredible detective who must solve the crime. Each person seems to have something to hide, and Poirot must interview everyone to gather evidence to solve the crime. Now, this could be a film that felt really slow-paced and stagnant because you're in such a claustrophobic environment, and even more than that, the fact that the train is not moving for the majority of the movie makes it feel like it should be really still, but instead Branagh does really creative things with the camera. There's one shot in particular that is this overhead shot that just sits there for a while, and while that shot could have felt really cramped because it's in the hallway of the train, it actually becomes something that's very creative and intriguing through this kind of different visual eye that, I think he has. And then there are many grand sweeping camera shots that make you feel like the story is constantly moving forward even though the train isn't going anywhere. When the killer is revealed, I was shocked because I thought that there was another half an hour or so left in the movie. I had no idea that we were at the end, and that's a testament to the pacing and the camera movement. It could have felt really stagnant, especially in the middle where he's just interviewing everyone, but I found the camera movement so intriguing that the story just never felt very slow to me. So what could have been really just a series of very bland medium shots turns into this luscious cinema experience. And I would say the one thing that kind of bothered me is that I could tell the parts that utilize CGI, and I think by now you guys know that I really hate that, so that was definitely a small criticism that I had with the movie. But you can see that Branagh is having an absolutely glorious time as Poirot. So the mustache alone was enough to draw me into the story. I mean, it's literally a two-tiered mustache and I loved it. Like I said, I've never seen another actor play Poirot, so there was no real basis of comparison, but I really liked Kenneth Branagh in this film. I felt like he was quirky, but he never took it so much over the top where it became absolutely ridiculous and it's just a caricature of someone. But instead I felt like there was this blend of being offbeat and kind of quirky, but also having a real and genuine character that I really cared about. I loved this character, and you know, that's what all of the actors in this film really did. They're all a little bit offbeat and they're all a little bit quirky, but they all had a sense of realism about them, and I really liked that tone set in the film. And Michelle Pfeiffer, I think, was really the best of the bunch. She stood out as such an incredible actress to me. I mean, she plays Caroline Hubbard, who is basically on the prowl to find a new husband. She's American, and you know, she has to be a lot of different personalities at once. And I just felt like she in particular gave a lot of layers of depth, and that's not to say that her character needed to be that way. I felt like that was all Michelle Pfeiffer, who in my opinion is very much undervalued as an actress. She can be so emotional and dramatic, and she can be funny and scary. I've seen her in so many films, and there's one scene in this film in particular where she knocked me to the ground, and I was actually crying in this movie during this one scene with her. And you know, after seeing her in Mother and then seeing her in this, I feel like she is just such a diverse actress, and I love that she's been doing more movies recently, because I've loved her ever since I saw her in Dangerous Liaisons for the first time. She's amazing in that movie. And I would say though that there is one major problem with this film, and that falls with the storyline of the film. And so in a detective story, I feel the audience should be given all of the clues to figure out the mystery, but here there's a key piece of information that only the characters know, and Poirot uses it to put the clues together. Without spoiling anything, there's basically this news story that all of the characters would have known about in the film, but you, the audience, don't actually know about it until much later on in the film, and it's when everything's kind of coming together. And I think part of the fun of a whodunit is trying to figure out who done it, and it's difficult to do that if you don't have key pieces of information. And I thought that instead they should have actually taken that news story, put it in the beginning of the film. Maybe Branagh is sitting on the bench and he's reading a newspaper, and you see this story in the corner, but maybe he doesn't even make mention of it, because then at least there would have been a clue, something left for me to figure out, so that I could put everything together with the story. But instead, I felt like I couldn't be as much of an active participant because I wasn't given this crucial piece of information, and that definitely took me out of the story a little bit. But all in all, I just really loved this movie. I was so surprised by it. Even the ending was so fantastic. Now, once again, if you know this story and you know the ending, then you know what's coming, and maybe it's not as fun for you, but as someone who had no idea what was coming, I found the ending actually really meaningful. It posed ethical questions that I was not expecting for this kind of movie, and so once again it was just another layer of surprise for me, and I really appreciated that. Now, could they have taken that ethical question and kind of made it a little bit more expansive and made it a little more thorough? Yes, of course they could have, but I was still glad that that was there. So all in all, really good experience. And now for the grades. So first, for film and artistry, I would give Murder on the Orient Express a B+. It is luscious and beautiful to look at. There's so much movement. The cinematography is gorgeous. I was surprised by how much I cared about the characters, and the mystery was very interesting, but at the same time a little bit more interactivity with giving, you know, those key plot points that I think were necessary to the story. Now, it may be that element isn't in the novel, and so they just did it the same way here. I don't know because I haven't read it, but I do think getting that one piece of information would have made the film much better for me if I got that information earlier on. And a little bit more character development, you know, might have improved the film as well. But in terms of watchability, which is how much I enjoyed this movie and whether I would just go back and watch it again, I struggled a little bit because I'm between an A- and an A, but I'm just gonna go for the A because I really enjoyed watching it. I was surprised. I also had an incredible cinema experience. My theater was completely filled, which I did not expect for this movie at all, especially since I went to an earlier showing. But everyone was just on board with this movie. The whole audience was laughing when they were supposed to laugh, and there were all these gasps, and I felt like it was really interactive, more than I've ever felt with a movie in a movie theater in quite a long time. Usually everyone's just sitting there, and I'm almost nervous to laugh because no one else is laughing, but here everyone was not afraid to kind of show what they were feeling, and it was a lot of fun for me as a viewer. And then at the end of the movie, everyone was clapping, and I looked around, and it was just a really diverse group of people. There were so many different ages that were there, and it was cool to see that this film was attracting such a diverse audience. And so I know that added to the fun for me. Also, kind of realizing that I liked a genre that I didn't realize I liked was kind of fun as well. So I would also ask you guys who love these sort of detective whodunit films that are a little offbeat and quirky, I would love recommendations so that I could have a fuller knowledge of these kinds of movies. And that's the beauty of this channel, is I really honestly wouldn't have gone and seen this movie in the movie theater, but I sort of felt like I had to for the channel. And as a result, I was so surprised that I was enjoying this type of genre, and so it's sort of opening my eyes to different types of film, and that's really cool. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you saw this, please leave a comment, or if you have recommendations for me, leave me a comment as well. Please like and subscribe if you like the video, and remember, it is always in fashion to go out, get dressed up, and make it a cinema chic night. Bye everyone.